I think the first time I met Bobby was probably in England. I was there from 16 to 19 years old. So it was around like 99, 2000. And he was running the Jaguar Formula One team, and I was there as a young driver. And I remember I probably met him at like Jaguar's office. And then I think we went to TGI Fridays for lunch or something like that.
I said, well, listen, if you want to use our hospitality, bring some hopeful sponsors in or whatever, you feel free to come to the races and do that. So I was trying to help her in any way I could. And it was at Elkhart Lake that I just said, you know what, I think you can do it. So I'm going to sign you to a 3-year contract, and we're going to go to Formula Atlantic next year. In the meantime, we'd do a few Barber Dodge races, get her back in a car. And off we went. My right-hand man, Scott Remke, thought I was crazy because we didn't have any sponsorship. But it was interesting when we announced that we had signed her, literally within, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks, we were fully funded. I mean, she was already a draw. That ability to attract sponsorship was obvious right from the start, and off we went.
That first Indy 500 in 2005 was, there's just so many memories. I mean, it created the Danica-Mania. I didn't call it that. It felt like that, but it was just a crazy time, and I just know that every day I felt really grateful and humbled that the car was good, and I didn't take that for granted, and I'm glad I didn't. I was very respectful about the other drivers, about how well it was going, and I mean, on top of being fast, I felt like I learned so much. So I learned that in pit lane, when the car stalled, I learned that, I think this is on the first pit stop, I learned that you can't have the clutch in and start the car. So, things like that. I learned that, you can spin out and get lucky and be headed towards pit lane and have no front wing and put a new one on and still go out there and have a great race. And I also learned just the power of the Indy 500 and what doing well at the Speedway means. It was a really special year, and in the end, especially like way far in hindsight nowadays, hearing the stories from Bob about how people thought he was crazy to put me in a car, I'm just so grateful it worked. I'm so glad he was right. I think that my best memories from the team, as far as racing goes, because we had fun otherwise too, was probably, obviously having so many poles the first year. We had 3 poles, but really it backed up all the way to Motegi and nearly getting on the pole, and I think that was the 3rd race of the year. I think Indy was the 3rd and 4th, or 4th and 5th, and I was on the front row, and there's a picture of us from qualifying, and I just got edged out for the pole, but I remember thinking how cool that was to be in that position, and then to fast forward to the Indy 500, the next race, and nearly get the pole again, and shoot, maybe if I had a little more experience, we'd have had more than a handful. I don't know. Sorry, Bob. I think it was on a flight, on a private flight, which I felt so fancy every time that Bob let me come on the plane. And I feel like the FBO was like millionaire or something. I'm like, this is just so cool. But I feel like I remember I was maybe on the plane with him, and he said something along the lines of, number one, he said, don't spend all your money at once. But then on top of that, it was about wanting to have the same lifestyle after racing as he did during, but knowing that, of course, the salary of driving the car and the things that go along with it go away. And he said that he wanted to make sure that he could sort of bridge that lifestyle from during to post racing. And that, I don't know, I never forgot about that. I never forgot that this driving the car was the opportunity to launch other things. And so I think that it was a really good seed he planted, because Lord knows I got a lot of other stuff going on. And we shared a lot of wine together, and I have 2 wines now, so I don't know, maybe you were the impetus. Bob was the one who believed in me outside of my family. He was the one that took the biggest chance. He was the one that put me in the car when obviously everyone was saying he was crazy. And you know, if I can pull another memory, he was actually the one that taught me about cars. When I came back from England, I didn't know anything about cars. They didn't teach me anything. They didn't. They just told me, go drive this car. And if you don't drive like another driver in the team, then, you know, your fault. But they never took the time to teach me anything. And in the Barber Dodge Pro Series, which I did 5 races, Bob was like my engineer. He was showing me how things worked on the car. He started teaching me about the roll bars and shocks and springs and everything. And I didn't know any of that stuff. And so Bob taught me how to be a race car driver.